Thanks, Steve.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Mojo, hosted by Elite Marketing Pro. My name is Chef Katrina, and I am your host this evening. And I am super excited for tonight because we have none other than Chief Wordsmith, copywriter extraordinaire. I mean, every time I get to hang out with Vitaly, it's like a gift. Because his insight around email, around marketing is just amazing. And I'm just excited to have you on here. I know you've got a crazy busy life with your kids and everything that's going on, and you're taking time out of your busy day to hang out with us here on the Monday Mojo. So I'm just super excited and honored really to have you here. Get the chance to pick your brain around email and copy and what goes on. We get so many questions from this community about it. And there's nothing better than having you, who is our chief email copywriter. You're sending out emails all the time. You write all of our sales letters, for crying out loud. So it's just an honor to have you here tonight. So thank you for joining us.
It's awesome. I appreciate being here. The honor is mine. It's just that in the evenings it usually gets really hectic. I have to tell my kids to stay quiet, and my oldest one not to FaceTime, stay off of the any streaming apps, to conserve the bandwidth. And it just gets hectic in the evening.
Yeah, well, it is what it is, but it's all good. Oh, there's echoing. That could be me, so let me drop in my headphones.
I heard something from your phone or from your speakers.
That could be me. So I will make the adjustment. Is that better? Are we no echoing now? Okay, cool. Okay, you do what you got to do. All right, so Natalie's the first time here on the Monday Mojo. Natalie, welcome to your first Monday Mojo. That's awesome. I love it. All right, so Vitaly, let's kick off a little bit about your backgrounds. For those that don't know you, that's new to our community, that don't quite know who you are, let's give a little bit of background history, kind of how you got started in email marketing, for crying out loud. Like, how did you end up in this realm of marketing?
Sure. I'll go really quick so we can get to the good stuff. I got into direct sales in 1995, doing it the old traditional way in the financial services industry. It was a direct sales business, and I did that from 1995 through 2006, so 11 years, of which 8 were full-time. So I've done all the, everything that network marketing direct sellers do. Burned through my warm list like my first couple weeks. I did cold calls, knocking on doors, pick up business cards, set up fishbowls to get business cards and call them, walked into businesses, prospected businesses to set up retirement plans, tried to strike up conversations with people at the mall, to recruit them, called managers of Starbucks and every store in the area and malls. So I've done all that stuff for 11 years. So when I discovered internet marketing, it was a no-brainer because I was sick and tired of making calls and doing hardcore prospecting stuff. I liked the business. I didn't mind doing appointments and actually sitting down with people, qualified people. It's getting to those appointments that was really tough, all the rejection. So when I got into internet marketing, I realized that you don't have to do any of that. You can use processes, basically marketing, to get in front of the right people or get people to actually reach out to you instead, so you don't have to do any reaching out yourself, which was awesome. So between 2006 and 2009 and 10, that's what I did. And I really didn't focus at all on email marketing. I mean, I've always heard that you need a list, and we can talk about that today, and the money's in the list, but I really didn't grasp that concept until the day that I lost my Google AdWords account. I used to advertise on Google a lot, just like people advertise on Facebook now. Google was the thing in the mid-2000s, all the way to about 2010, 2011, and then Google had a big slap, and for a number of reasons, a lot of people lost their accounts, and so overnight I lost an account, I lost a six-figure income stream. But what I had left is I had my list of people that have opted in through various websites that I had. And so I started, I was emailing them before, but I realized the importance of having a list and doing a good job with emails to build a relationship and stay in touch and nurture your list. And that's when I really got serious about email marketing around 2010. So that's how I got into it, and I kind of made it my goal to master that and get really good at it, because I realized that it's the most important thing. It's not the only thing, but it's one of the most important things you can do as an internet marketer is to build a list and maintain that list and email that list on a regular basis.
Yeah. And I love how you said, you definitely, you threw a flashback when you talked about the fishbowl and collecting business cards. I was like, whoa.
I used to set them up in restaurants in Coney Islands. And then I'd call people up and say, hey, I came across your name. Somebody who's ambitious and motivated and looking for an opportunity.
Yeah, I was like, man, I totally forgot about that piece that I did way back when. I'm like, great flashback.
Anybody in here ever set up fishbowls?
Yeah, I don't want to know. Did you guys ever just set up a fishbowl, collect business cards, prospect people?
That was like a revolutionary idea in 1998.
No, I was like, no, never did that one.
No? Nobody did that?
No.
Okay, well, I'm dating myself here. I guess they don't do that anymore. Pulled them off of bulletin boards. Yeah, done that too.
Interesting. All right, so we've done it. Keys, not cars. I don't want to know. Yeah, so, I mean, we've definitely done a lot of different methods for doing this. And I have to say, when I first got into network marketing, I think one of the things that did connect with me or did draw me in was the fact that email follow-up was a great way for me to follow up. Because definitely at the time, I did not want to be on the phone, for following up with people. And I was like, there's got to be an easier way that's non-pushy, non-confrontational. And email marketing really seemed to be like a better way to approach follow-up with my people that were interested or people that were customers or distributors. It just seemed like a better way to go.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I put in the email today, that there are reasons why you absolutely must use email. So let's talk about those reasons, first of all, and then we can talk about the actual emails. There are a lot of reasons. The main ones are, and I'll tell you the one that the biggest reason why you want to use email, and I even put in there that some people might be shocked as to why, is because it's really the only thing that you can control. What I mean by that is that if you're an affiliate marketer, if you're a network marketer, if you're advertising on different channels, like let's say different platforms like Facebook, some people use Twitter, most people use Facebook. Those platforms are not yours. You have no control over them. They're here today, they're gone tomorrow. I'm not saying Facebook's going to be gone tomorrow. It's not, probably. But your account could be gone. Your Facebook page could be gone. They could pull your fans without you. I'm not saying that's going to happen, and I'm not saying that to scare anybody. But I went through that with Google. I didn't think at the time that I would lose my account. So the point is that when you're using somebody else's platform, you have to realize that it's not your platform. It is their platform. I'll give you another example, YouTube videos. YouTube's great, and I'm not a YouTuber, but I know a lot of people who have used YouTube videos to build a business. But at one point, YouTube decided to pull the plug in a lot of marketers in certain industries, and people lost their business overnight because if that's all that they relied on, suddenly their account was gone, and all the hundreds of thousands or millions of followers that they had, gone, okay? Again, not saying that's going to happen, but you have no control over that. But when you have a list of emails, that's yours. It's not going anywhere because you're not using a platform. Sure, you could be using Aweber, you could be using some service, but that's just a service. The list is yours. You can always take your list and go with a different provider if you don't like them or they don't like you for whatever reason. So that's why having a list is your number one asset. It's really the only thing that you can control, regardless of what promotion method you use or what platform you use to sell and promote your business or your network marketing business or your product or affiliate program that you're promoting. It always comes back to having a list, because when you have that list, you can control it, number one. Number two, it's a way for you to establish a relationship with people, because selling, recruiting, selling, it's a process. It doesn't happen instantaneously. The bigger of a commitment you're asking for people, financially or time-wise, the more they have to get to know who you are, because people will not do business with anybody they don't like or they don't trust. So your goal is to create rapport, is to get people to like and trust you. And today there are many ways to do that, right? There's Facebook, you can do Facebook Lives, you can create Facebook groups. There's all kinds of ways, right? You can use a blog, you can use videos, you can use Twitter. But using an email should be your number one driver, because you can use email to drive your prospects to all those other platforms. So if you're doing Facebook Lives, like for example, right now we're doing Monday Mojo, and we're doing this on Fire Talk, right? We're also doing Facebook Live at the same time, right? So we're using two different platforms. But guess how we made the announcement? Primarily, we sent out an email. Now I know Chef Katrina also posted on Facebook, right? So we made an announcement there. But we don't know how many people we're going to be able to reach through Facebook, because unless they're logged in at that time, unless they're checking, they're not going to see it, okay? But with emails, it goes right into their inbox. And email is still, the number one driver of sales for internet companies. So that's, really don't need to be that horse, but I'm just saying use emails and start building your list as quickly as possible.
Yeah, definitely getting a lot of comments on Facebook. Like, that makes so much sense about that, like why you should be building an email list, why you got that. Also, do you have two mics on Vitaly? Because we're still getting some feedback and some fuzziness.
I have, well, let's see. If I turn this off, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I do have two mics on. Okay, the other one is not that great, but okay.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a way to change between, I would rather shut the other one off and use this one. I have this heavy Blue Yeti mic.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it either. This is one platform that every time I touch something, I end up freezing up the computer, or something goes a little wrong. So I'm like. So
right now it's using the mic off of the webcam that I have, which is not as great.
Yep.
But unless you tell me how to change it, I'll plug this one.
I'll just go with it. We're good.
Okay.
We can still hear you.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, total a lot of sense around, the ownership of platforms, the email list, the being able to market. And I think that's one of the big reasons, and I've seen it. I've done it tests, Vitaly, where I've just posted in our social media communities that we have a Monday Mojo, and the reach is not that great. It's not until I send the email. And I get people that email me all the time and say, hey, is there going to be a Monday Mojo tonight? Because email is like that direct form of communication that lands in an inbox. And it's probably it's the one thing you truly can control out of everything we do online, for sure.
Absolutely. And look, nowadays, if you sign up with different companies, they have a way for you to log in with Facebook, right? And with other platforms, but Facebook primarily now. And that's great. But guess what? You're still getting notifications to your email. Like when you're getting a receipt, it doesn't go to your Facebook account. You buy something, and they send you a receipt to your email. They send you notifications about upcoming charges or schedules or something like that, whatever you're involved in, with that company. Yeah. They always send that to your email. And it's been like that for years. So people are used to checking their email for important stuff. And so your conversation is important, right? So it's a way for you to also get into their inbox. And of course, based on how you do it, you're either going to be lost in their inbox, or you're going to stand out and they're going to read your emails.
Yeah. I mean, I believe most of you guys, if you're online and you get like your bills paid through online, they notify you. I mean, that's the only real true communication is like, hey, by the way, you've got a bill due. And that's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Steve's asking where we're seeing the question. So there's a live chat thing at the top. We're using Fire Chat, so I don't know, Steve, if you're on Fire Chat or not. But if you're on Fire Chat, then there's a live chat thing on the right, and you can see the questions. Yeah,
and Steve, if you're on a mobile app, like I was on my iPad, I can't do it laying horizontal like this. I have to turn it vertical, and then I can see the comments that are being made. So on some mobile devices, it requires that you switch the vertical or to horizontal to see it. So those are just kind of little one-offs for mobile. Desktop, it all shows up on the right-hand side of the screen if you're watching this on desktop, if you're on Facebook, you're not going to see what chats are going on here on the Fire Talk, and vice versa. But great question.
Before I forget, you mentioned mobile, and this is a really good point because we work from home, and even though I have my mobile devices around me, like I have a tablet, I have an iPad, I have a phone, but I'm on the computer most of the time, unless I'm not at home. And so I forget sometimes, and I have to remind myself that a lot of people probably the majority of the people today, don't even use desktops anymore. They use mobile devices primarily, unless they're internet marketers, but if they're not, for the most part, like my wife, she never uses a desktop, but never uses a laptop. She always uses her phone or the tablet. So, and a lot of people are like that. And so with email, it's even more important because when somebody's using their mobile device, they're checking their email all the time on their mobile, right? Facebook, everything just kind of goes by really, really quick. So they may not even see your stuff on Facebook. Again, I'm not, we're not here talking, saying that Facebook doesn't work. Of course, you got to be using Facebook, but email should be your primary driver, and especially with mobile, because everything is kind of moving and shifting towards mobile. That's going to, I think, be more important with emails.
Yeah, that's a really valid point, because that's true. Even on my device, I think I check my emails more than I check anything else, because that's my most direct, link to conversations.
Yep.
It's so important. So we've talked about kind of the importance of email and like why it's such a valuable tool. And it truly is something that because I get the question all the time, Vitaly, that I get from our community. They say, why would I want to take over my own list? Why would I want to do my own follow-up if EMP does such a great job of it? I mean, this is the system I want. This is what we're doing. So why would it make sense for me to take over my list when EMP does an incredible job? They got people like you that write incredible emails. And
that's a great question. And so it's a good way to start. And yes, we do the follow-up. And if you're an affiliate of Elite Marketing Pro, our follow-up will help you make sales, of course, but it's not going to build your business, because if you're not building a relationship with those leads, they have no idea who you are. So they're hearing from us, and that's great, and we can make sales for you all day long. But long term, again, do you want to rely everything? You want to rely your business and your income on what we do? Not that we're going to go anywhere, or do you want to build a brand, your own brand, and brand yourself at the same time? And it can be simultaneous, so you don't have to worry about, should I do this? Should I let EMP follow up, or should I do my own follow up? Well, you can do both. You can let us do the follow up because they're still going to be on the EMP list. But at the same time, if you take over the list, which we could talk about, if you start building your own list, then they get to hear from you, and they get to, and you have that relationship with them. And at the end of the day, you're the one that wants to be the leader, the authority, the person that they're following. So that's really why you want to take over your list as quickly as possible and start emailing people. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's the relationship. I know it just after years of doing this that if you really want to work on building your business as a network marketer using this system, it really does start with you connecting with your audience. And one of the fastest ways to do that really is through email marketing.
Right. So the first thing that I learned in sales is, and it's the most important thing, in my opinion, is that, I already mentioned it a couple of times, is that your goal is to get people to like you and trust you. And so how do you do that? Well, who do we like and trust? Like, think about people that you like and trust in your life. It's people that you know, right? It's your friends, it's your family, hopefully, not all of them, but for the most part. It's people that you know, people that you have a history with. And so when somebody comes into your world, right, if a lead, a new prospect comes into your world, they don't know you. They have no reason to like you or trust you yet. So your goal is to create that rapport, start building that rapport, and start creating that trust as quickly as possible. Now, how do you do that? Through communication, right? Through telling people who you are, what you do, how you can help them, and making that connection. And that's what you do with your emails. See, the purpose of the email is not just to make a sale. I mean, yes, that's the ultimate end, the goal that we all want is, we send out emails, we make sales. That's the ultimate end goal. But your primary goal, your primary objective is to start making connections with people. And the sooner you start doing that, and the better you get at connecting with people, the quicker you're going to create that rapport, the quicker you're going to create that trust, and people are going to start responding.
Yep. That is very true.
So there was a question there. So do we learn the skill? This is from Natalie. Do we learn the skills for this during the VIP course?
Yeah. So great question for that one is that, yes, inside the leader library that you get access to, there's this amazing email marketing course called The Ultimate
Email Profit Machine.
That's the one. And so when we walk you through, I think one of the benefits of being a VIP member is that there are courses back in your back office. And yes, it can seem a little overwhelming to have access to all those training courses, but really it's breaking them down when you need them as you need them. So when you start taking over your list, again, one of the things you're going to ask yourself is like, how do I start, with email? What is the best thing? Vitaly, like the first question is like, what do I write in that first email? Right.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. But then that's the point where you're going to start looking at email copyright, and that particular course is great for teaching and training email marketing. And so one of the questions, and I would love to touch upon this now, unless you guys don't want to hear about this, but it's like I get two questions in our community. One, I just got a lead. What the heck do I say to them? And then the second question I usually get is like, hey, I've taken over my list. What do I email them? Like, what's that first email say? So we kind of have two questions in there, but they're both usually around like the very beginning. Like, what do you say?
All right. So what do you say to your lead? So here's the thing, right? This is another thing that I have to remind myself of. Not as often, but I still do. Even though you're marketing online, you're still dealing with people. Okay? You're dealing with real people, with individuals. Okay. And so if we were in the real world, not in the virtual world, but if we were, across the kitchen table, as I say, because that's how I made a living for 11 years, is across the kitchen table. And what's the first thing you do when you meet somebody? You walk in the door, you shake their hand or you wave at them, right? It's a handshake. And so the first thing you want to do is if somebody opts in, whether to your list or to EMP's list, and you get that lead notification, what do? You reach out to them in your email and you say hi. You just introduce yourself, right? You just start a conversation. No hidden agenda. Just introduce yourself. Just tell them, hey, hi, thanks. Thanks for grabbing however they opted in. If you have any questions, let me know. You can't go wrong with this because you're just having a normal email exchange with somebody that you just met. And you know what? I guarantee you that, I know some people are doing that right now because we're teaching people to do that, but for the most part, people don't do that. And your leads are going to be shocked when you do that. When you reach out to them, in fact, you'll get responses from people saying, this is the first time anybody ever reached out to me. Right? I mean, I used to get that all the time. So immediately, you're going to start building that trust. You're going to start building the rapport, and you're going to be different than everybody else whose list they've opted into before. So that's what you do with a new lead. What was the other question?
So the other question is that, one of the things we teach and train inside the system is how to take over your list, right? We've got a couple of funnels.
Right. What do you say?
Yeah, we got a couple of funnels that you guys as affiliates can kind of take over and use to really build your credibility with your audience. And so they get that first email, they're ready to type it, they're like, I have no idea how to say hello or welcome people to this autoresponder series that they're about to get.
So autoresponder, I'm sure most people know what it is, right? It's AWeber, get response, iContact, whatever you use. Right? It's a way for you it's a platform for you to maintain your list and to send out emails. And you can do a broadcast, which means you can just send an email, type up an email and send it to your whole list, or you can have an autoresponder sequence, which goes out automatically. Right. So if somebody opts in at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can set it up to where they immediately get a welcome email from you, and you don't have to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning typing that up, which I think is the coolest thing in the world. Still, after all these years, I've been doing this for 12 years now. Still, I still listen. This is really cool. Somebody opts in, and it's all automated. So that's what an autoresponder is. So the first email that goes out, just like I said before, it's a handshake. And what you want to do in that email, so this is actually a very big topic, what to say, but I'll make it short. What you want to do is you want to know who you're talking to, right? You want to have an idea of who is it that you're talking to, right? In other words, who is your audience? I assume for the most people that are live with us right now or going to be watching this is probably network marketers, I would imagine. Unless you're selling your own product or doing something else, but for most people are probably network marketers. So let's just go with that example, right? So somebody opts in, and they're coming from the network marketing world, and they're looking for help with network marketing. So what you have to do is you have to put yourself in the shoes of that person and think about it. Okay, they just met you. What is it that you want to convey? What's the one thing or a couple things that you want to convey to that person, right? Immediately in that email. we know that, I already mentioned this before, you want to create rapport, build like and trust, right? So you want to tell them a little bit about yourself. You don't need to get into your whole life story. You can just tell them, kind of like I told you, I've been involved in this business since 1995, whatever your story is. I did this for 11 years. I did this, and this. And I was sick and tired of it. And by the way, when I was mentioning these things, prospecting, making phone calls, knocking on doors, setting up fish bowls, et cetera, that will resonate with a lot of network marketers because they've gone through that. So I'm deliberately telling that story. It's a true story. It's exactly what I did. But I'm deliberate when I say that to network marketers because immediately there is a connection there, right? We usually like people who are like ourselves. So if there's some common ground there, if we share some kind of common experience, there's immediate automatic rapport. And that's what you want to do in that first email. So what can you say to them that will create that common ground, that will build that, that will help you create that rapport? And if you have things in your story, in your life story that you could use, short bits and pieces, to put in that first email that will create that common ground, then that's really all you need to do in that first email. That's really all there is to it, is to tell them who you are, share a little about your story, and hopefully you'll say what you need to say to make that connection, which I just told you what it is. So if you're dealing with network marketers, tell them your story, what you've done, or what you've experienced, and what were some of your struggles and frustrations, because that's a common recurring theme in the life of a network marketer, whether they've been in it for 6 months, 6 years, or 16 years. It's pretty much the same thing over and over again for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. And Tessa had a question. She says that she's done that. She's reached out to her leads and she just hasn't had a response yet. Is this kind of typical when you're first starting out? You're kind of responding to your leads and you're just not getting an email back from them?
Are you asking them to email you back?
That's a great question.
Because I mean, if you're asking to email you back, or if you could ask them, hey, let me know what you're interested in, or let me pose a question, and you will get replies. But if you're just simply introducing yourself, don't expect that people are just going to automatically reply back. Some will, some won't, but most probably won't. So again, it comes back to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to get replies back, then structure your your first email in a way that elicits a response from them. Whether it's a question, you got to pose some kind of a question to them.
Yeah, everyone's like, that's so simple. Now that makes sense. That's why no one's responding.
I heard a long time ago that the key to being successful in business and life is to ask for what you want. So if there's something that you want, you got to ask. If you want your leads to do something, then you got to ask them. Yeah,
it makes perfect sense. And got to give the hats off to Steve Jaffe on here also, because he's like, EMP is the only place where you can actually learn how to do all 3 steps. Build a list, warm up the list, and sell to the list. And the leader library's got it, and we've got all the different segments you need behind there. So thank you for that, Steve. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of moving parts in this business: traffic, leads, email, conversions, and with all this new stuff that comes out in Facebook Lives and blogging, and it's all kinds of stuff, right? So you take it one step at a time. Like today we're talking about email, but it's all, even though there are a lot of moving parts, it's all one thing. You're trying to create a connection. This is the most important thing. You're trying to create a connection with your audience. Right. And there are all these different means to do it. So you take it one step at a time. Don't try to don't be overwhelmed with trying to learn everything at the same time, because you won't learn everything at the same time. So take it one step at a time. But email is definitely something that you want to pay attention to. And I wish I would have started that much sooner. Because in my experience, it is a big piece of the puzzle, and it is one of those things that can make a huge difference if you do it right. Some things make a small difference. This can make a huge difference. Yeah,
I think an email is such a powerful piece, and there's so many moving parts. I get that question a lot. It's like, when can I expect seeing success? When can I expect it to start working? When can I expect it all to that I get the leads, I'm making the money, people are joining my company? And there's like this expectation of, we can do it in 30 days, 90 days. I mean, you've been in this industry for a while. What is the average time frame, I guess, that you've kind of seen most people kind of get that aha moment, or those wheels turn and the momentum just kind of has a tipping point?
That's a tough question, because it also depends on what you're coming in with, what kind of experience. Like, I came in, even though I knew nothing about internet marketing, I had 11 years of sales, direct sales experience. And so I came in with a much different mindset. Even though I've made a ton of mistakes, I have been making money since 2006, actually since 2005 online. I have been making money pretty much my second month in business, but that's not typical. I think if somebody comes in with zero experience, it's not going to happen in 30 days or 60 days. It's going to be a little bit longer. Now, we at EMP, we do everything in our power to help people get there as quickly as possible, because the system is there. So if you drive traffic and you let us, do what we do anyway, but as long as you drive traffic and you do that part, you're going to start making money. But at the same time, as far to answer your question, when is it going to start really happening to where you have an email list and people are joining and it's kind of going on autopilot? There is no time frame. For some people, it's 6 months. For some people, it's 18 months. For some people, it's 5 years. Just depends on how quickly you go through all the steps. Through all the steps that we lay out for you, through admission coaching. Again, some people take, it's not a job, it's a business, right? Some people take their time. Some people take a long time. Again, it depends on what you do with all of this. So it's really tough to put a time frame on it. But realistically, you should give yourself a 90-day, I think, to make it concrete, I think you should give yourself a 90-day window to where you can see some progress and say, okay, I'm going to do this for 90 days. And you should see results within 90 days. You should be at a different place, much different place 90 days from now than you are today, if you do the right things, which is getting traffic, starting to build a list, email your list, follow up. You're going to make mistakes, but you're going to learn as you go along.
So Curtis says he wants to be like Fernie when he grows up.
I think that's a great goal.
Awesome. So what are some other key tips? I know we've talked about what do you say in that first email? Well, what do you say when why is it so important? What else have I not touched upon around email marketing that you want to cover? I know we kept saying we'd come back to a couple of points.
The whole thing with email marketing, it's something that I think about a lot. I think about copy a lot. I know a lot about other things too. Like, I know how to get traffic. And I buy programs all the time, and I test certain things all myself. But primarily, I've committed the time and the resources that I have to learning copywriting.
Yeah.
That's because I think for me that's what makes the most difference. Is learning how to do that, and that's what I've been doing for a number of years now. So where was I going with this? Oh, emails. Yeah. So I think about emails and copy all the time, even though I think about a lot of other stuff, Facebook, traffic, and all the other things that we have available at our disposal to grow our business. So when it comes to emails, here's the thing, right? When you're writing your email, you don't need to get caught. Like, I read a ton of copywriting books. It's kind of hard to see because my camera's cut off, but I have a lot of books, and I have a lot of courses, and I probably own most copywriting courses that are out there. Probably every email marketing course that has been put out in the last 10 years I own. That's something that you need to do, okay? Unless you want to. But I just go overboard and I buy everything when it comes to copywriting. But at the end of the day, what I realized is that when you're talking to people, you need to kind of forget copywriting, and you're having a conversation. Okay? Yes, there are things that you could do to get your point across better. You can be more clear, you can be more punchy, you can write better bullets, better headlines, better subject lines. That all takes time to develop, but ultimately you're having a conversation with a person. And when you're talking to people, it's not about copywriting, it's not about having a big, bold claim, as you learn, or you've probably seen copywriters or other people refer to. It's about having a conversation with a person and being real. And that's what you want to do in your emails. You just want to be real with people. You want to have conversation. Now, I will say that with subject lines, you do want to have a good, catchy, attention-grabbing, curiosity-provoking subject line.
True.
Because if you were the only one in their email, in their inbox, then you could say whatever you want and they'll open it. But the reality is there is a lot of competition for their attention, and it's not going to get any easier. As more and more marketers come on board, as more companies launch, and their inboxes are already inundated with emails, and they're going to be even more inundated. So how do you stand out? What do you say in your emails to make yourself sound different? Well, make your subject line curiosity provoking. I spend time and I think about subject lines that I write. Sometimes I'll write an email and then I'll just sit there and think about the subject line. What can I say to get that person's attention? Mm-hmm. Because I know myself, like I'll do this, and here's a good exercise. Here's some tips that I can give you. What I'll do, and I don't think I've ever shared this, but what I do is I'll take my phone, and before I send out an email, I'll put a subject line and I'll do a test email, because before you send an email, you always do a test email to make sure the email comes through, you didn't make any mistakes, the link is working, because I can't tell you how many times I send something and the link is not working. So I don't do that anymore. I always test. So I send a test, and what I do is I look it on my phone, because why? I know that most people check their emails on their phones. I don't know what percentage, but I'm assuming it's probably 70% or higher. People check their emails on their phones primarily. So what I'll do is I'll open up my phone and I'll start scrolling through my inbox, and I'll see my test email, and I'll look at it. And how does it look compared to other emails that I have in my inbox? And see, this is a really, really good tip that I'm giving you, because when you write your subject line, like in the context of just you writing it, there's nothing else around, you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's a pretty good subject line, it looks great. But when you're seeing your email with a slew of other emails on your phone, it looks totally different. It looks totally different, because now suddenly there's an email from this guy and this gal and this company and this company and this company, and you can see that your email even stand out. And so this is something that I do a lot, is I just look and I see, yeah, that subject line doesn't really grab me. Now that I'm seeing it with 8 or 10 other emails that are showing up on my screen, and if you look at it on your desktop, it's even more, because it's a bigger screen. You can probably see 30 emails at the same time. So that's what you can do to really get that subject line to a point where you can be happy and say, yep, that's a good subject line. So curiosity provoking, attention grabbing, test it on your phone and see how you can make it better. Ask yourself this question, how could I grab their attention? So that's my suggestion with subject line. The other thing, back to what I was saying, make me conversational. When you write your email, you're not writing an English paper. My daughter, she's in school, she's taking English right now, and I get a kick out of the stuff that she knows what I do, of course. But I have to bite my lip and not say anything, because what they're learning is bullshit. Okay? I mean, it's English. I get it. It's great. She needs to get an A. That stuff doesn't work in the real world. That's not how people write. Okay, people write in simple language. People write. Here's another tip.
Isn't it like a 6th grader level that we read at?
Yeah, that's my tip. Actually, is that the best copy is written at 5th or 6th grade level, reading level. So there are tools, like you can type in readability score, and you'll see a website where they can check where you can paste your text and look at the readability score. And you can just take your email, take what you wrote, paste it in there, and see how it scores. And if you take any of the emails that I write, if you look at the Flash Kincaid score, you'll see it's right around 6th grade, sometimes 7th, sometimes 5th, but it's right around 5th or 6th grade for the most part. Okay, and there's also a score on ease of reading, and I'm always like 75 to 80%. I don't even check anymore. I just know that the way I write, I've checked it so many times already that I know that for the most part it's like 6th grade level. But if you're writing at a 9th or 10th or 11th grade level, that means you're using words that are too long. So let's talk about why that's important. Because I know some people, especially highly educated people, are going, yeah, but I'm writing to adults. I'm not writing to elementary school. I'm not writing to 5th or 6th graders. I'm writing to adults that are educated. Why should I write at a 5th grade level? I'll tell you why. Because on a subconscious level, when people read your email, they're not reading it, they're not thinking at a 10th or 11th or 12th grade level. They're reading as a 3rd grader, as a 4th grader, as a 5th grader. If it's too hard to understand, they're not going to comprehend some of these things. Not because they can't, but because that's how our brains are wired. We're not used to putting too much strain on our brains because they're not reading a novel. They're not reading Shakespeare. They're reading an email. They don't want to put they don't want to spend too much brain effort to try to comprehend what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so that's why sometimes when you read certain emails, they're very easy to read. They're easy to easy to digest.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you read an article or an email, and it's like you got to read it like 3 times to even understand what the person is saying. And that's because they're writing it at a college level. And that's not how you want to write. If you want people to understand what you're saying, you got to write in simple terms. You got to write to 4th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade level.
Yeah.
And that's what the very, very, very best copywriters in the world do. And so when you start doing that, your emails are going to become magnetic, basically. They're going to be very easy to digest, and people are going to be attracted to reading them. They're going to want to stick around and read that stuff because they're so easy to read.
Yeah.
Everything just kind of flows. Versus sometimes I'll critique an email, and it's just I'm reading, I'm losing my train of thought just reading it because it's so hard to understand because the sentences are too long. Just if you're on our list, most people are. Just look at the emails that come in from us. You can see that I use very deliberately, very short sentences. If the sentence is too long, you can see that I break it up with ellipses, which is ... by 3 dots. That's the kind of stuff that makes a difference in your emails that I want to share with you guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that's actually a key point. And when you write emails, guys, is like if I'm not mistaken, it should be kind of short, single, maybe 1 to 2 sentences per line. Mm-hmm. Really making it, like you said, easy to digest, really easy to flow, consume it, because it's simple to read, and you're not getting lost in these big blocks of content and sentences where you're just like, I don't even know where to go next.
Yeah, if you go to a blog and you look at a blog and you see just these big blocks of text, it looks like work just to read it. And your mind automatically goes, you shut off.
Yeah. Because
who wants to read that? But but it's very easy to read 1 word, 2 words, 3 mm-hmm. words, 5 words. And so when it's short, you're drawing people in, because just because they open your email, that doesn't mean they're obligated to read it, right? They're not obligated to read it. They're not obligated. They may read the first sentence, and if it doesn't grab them, they're out of there.
Yeah.
So you got to look at your emails and really all your marketing, blog posts, videos, because it's pretty much the same thing. But specifically, we're talking about emails. You got to look at each paragraph or each sentence that you write. Should I leave it? Is that going to throw somebody off? Is that going to bore them? Is that going to confuse them? Or is it going to make it easy for them to keep going and make them want to keep going and read it? And so a good idea for you would be to, if you want to get good at this stuff, is read emails that you like and kind of look at them and say, why do I like reading them? What is it about those emails that I like? That's what I do. And not just emails. Look at books. If you read books, why are some books easy to read and other books not easy to read?
Mm-hmm.
Because of how the style that they're written in.
True.
That's my dog. He's sleeping and making some noises.
Is he asleep?
I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Is he asleep?
Yeah, he's sleeping right here. And he's snoring.
Something. I
don't know if you can hear him now. That's anyway, so yeah, you want to make it very easy for them to read. So look at what other writers do. Look at even look at movies. Like, why are some movies interesting to watch and others are boring? Because of how quickly the story moves, because of what's going on in the movie, right? Of how it's structured. And so you want to make your communication the same way. You want to make it easy for people to digest.
Yeah.
And so it takes some time to really hone that skill. But if you think about it, if you consciously think about it as you're writing, then you're going to look for those things. You're going to look at, and you're going to ask yourself, is this too hard? Was what I'm saying here too much information? Is it too dense? Or is it light? You want to keep it light.
Got it. So a couple of questions that have come up. It was basically, how often do you email? That's always a top question. It comes like, should I be emailing daily? Like, what's the best strategy for email?
As much as you can. I mean, the more often you want to be, there's a saying, out of mind or out of sight, out of mind, right? So if you're not there in their inbox, then they're not thinking about you. If you want them to think about you and your brand, then be there more often.
But what if they unsubscribe?
We email every day, right? 6 days a week, except for Sundays, and sometimes we even do it on Sunday. But we email 6 days a week, and we email multiple times because we have different things going on.
Yeah. But isn't that considered spammy? Like if I email multiple times, isn't people are just gonna like unsubscribe or think that I'm like spamming them?
Unless they're not interested. If they're interested in what you have, then they're not going to unsubscribe. If they're not interested, then they will unsubscribe. So you're not spamming. They've opted into your list because they wanted information on how to recruit people, on how to get better in the business, how to make more money, whatever the promise is, right? So you've made a promise. They got on your list for that reason. And if you continue delivering that on a regular basis, whether it's daily, it doesn't have to be every day. I mean, I'm saying every day because that's how we do it, but in reality, you should email often, like at least 2-3 times a week, if you want them to stay engaged, and if you want to be on top of their mind when they're ready to join or buy, then you want to be in their inbox often.
Got it.
So no, that's not spam. But again, you will have some people that hit the spam button just because that's just how they are. So don't worry about that. If some people are going to unsubscribe, great, then they're not your audience. The quicker you can get rid of them, the better. It's not something that you need to concern yourself about. The people that are going to resonate with your message, they're going to look forward to seeing your emails, they're going to look forward to reading them, and people that don't resonate with it, or your message doesn't resonate with them, then they'll be gone, and that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, Teresa said that's so true, because like when you think about it, and many of you guys do, when you look at the emails you get, I have tons of emails that come to me. I have tons of stores that email me all the time, and some of them I never open, some of them I do. But unless I'm no longer interested in that person, only then do I unsubscribe, and very rarely do I unsubscribe. And the people that do, like Vitaly says, that do that, they weren't either going to buy, or they weren't interested in the first place, or they're distracted by something else. So, just come from it from that perspective.
So yeah, if you and again, you got to remember who you're talking to. If you're talking to people like network marketers, then as long as you talk to them about things that are important to them, which is the business, tips on building the business, tips on making money, how to deal with rejection, how to do, you should have a long list of things that are important to network marketers. Dealing with an unsupportive partner, dealing with family members that hassle you, and so on and so forth, right? Dealing with uplines, you should have a long list of things, and you can talk about all these things and inject your personal stories to make it a little bit more interesting. So each email shouldn't be, here are 3 tips to not to take rejection personally. And so every email like that, it's not interesting.
Yeah.
Nobody wants. They'll read it once or twice, and then it's like it's too dry. But if you inject your personal stories, what I mean by that is, again, you can look at our emails, but you can say, when you're dealing with rejection, you can recall an experience that you've had where you tried to prospect somebody, where you call somebody up and they hung up on you, or they slammed the door in your face, or whatever. See, I have lots of stories like that. See, all that abuse that I took for 11 years, I've built up a lifetime of email fodder I can use.
So true. So true.
So that's a great experience. It wasn't abuse, I didn't, but it was certainly harsh at the time. But you have stories, whatever your story is. If you had a family dinner and your brother-in-law all of a sudden in front of everybody started making fun of your business, which happens, right? I mean, or they start questioning. I know that happens to people. You can use that. That's a story that you can tell and how you dealt with it. And I guarantee you there are people out there that are on your list that are going to read it and they're going to resonate with it, and that's going to bind you closer. And so that's the kind of stuff that you need to do with your emails and your videos and really with your market. That's how you build that rapport. That's how you continue building that relationship, and you become the voice of authority in their life in this business.
Got it. So a question that Julie has, actually, this is a great question. So do you have any tips for emailing my network marketing business customers? Like, how do you do follow-up and engagement around that?
Sure. I mean, I don't know what your business, what they bought, but whatever they bought, you email them about that, what's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that's important? What is it that they need to hear that's going to be of interest to them? So you write to them. So health and wellness. So, health and wellness is such a massive topic. If these people are interested, they bought a health and wellness product, whether it's a supplement, vitamin, a cream, or whatever. But they're obviously interested in solving a problem that's going to help them stay healthy, that's going to help them live longer. There's so much you can talk about. You send them tips on health and wellness, right? You send them tips on eating right and exercising and staying in shape and whatever your product does. I don't know the details of your product, but whatever your product does, whatever the benefits of your product, you send them tips on that. And no matter what it does, I guarantee you there are probably dozens and dozens of things that you can talk about. And again, interject personal stories. And not just personal stories, you can look at stuff online. So for example, if you're dealing with health and wellness, and let's say you're talking about weight loss, and using that as an example, there are stories about weight loss all the time. So you can pull a story from that you saw on the internet, you could write an email about it and say, hey, I just saw a story about this lady who lost 50 pounds and she did this and she did that. And now you're telling a story, and then you can introduce your product.
Yeah.
And it has nothing, she has nothing to do with your product has nothing to do with her weight loss, but you can use that as an example. You can use that as a way to open the door and talk about, what's important to them. So there's all kinds of stuff that you can talk about when it comes to health and wellness.
Yeah, and what came up in my mind when you started talking about that too, I know a lot of the companies in the health and wellness industry, they usually have, blogs that the company puts together or testimonials. So every now and then you'll see like a story come up or be talked about inside that particular company around that health and wellness product. Could you kind of like share that story? Would that be a good idea? Something you can use inside an email?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. So case studies, testimonials, whatever you have access to from your company, use that. That's out there. Like make a list of all the benefits that your product or your service provides, and then look at all the material that you have, all the whatever marketing material you have, brochures, blogs, videos, testimonials, and you can create all kinds of emails. And you don't need to put all of that in one email. You create a bunch of emails from bits and pieces of what you have access to. Absolutely. So like I was in the financial services business, and I didn't use email at the time, and there were a lot of complications because of compliance also. But if I was in that business right now, I would talk to people about saving money, getting out of debt, and there's unlimited amount of information that you could email about those topics, right? Debt, retirement, college education, taxes, IRAs, 401ks. It's the stock market going up, the stock market going down, real estate market going up, real estate market going down. There's a story, like there's a story every 2 seconds that comes out on something like this that you could use even if you have nothing from your personal experience. Same thing with health and wellness.
Got it.
And same thing pretty much with every major industry.
Yeah, really. There's nothing around even the makeup industry, you guys, whatever. I mean, there's tons. You can do electronic industry, and many of you guys are into so many different elements around that you can really dive into anything. But again, I will just say that one of the things I will say is make sure that you talk to people about what's important to them. So put yourself in the shoes of your customer, your prospect. Think about what's important to them as it relates to your business, and talk about those things. Got it. So Steve's got a great question for you. This is kind of, not everyone's going to understand this, but that's okay. This is good for you guys to get nuggets of this information into your head, especially if you're brand new, because you may hear this coming up later on. But the question Steve asks is, have you seen a difference in open rates and CTRs in HTML email versions versus standard email? Like, have you seen?
So here's the thing. We email HTML emails. They just look like they're standard text because I don't put any banners on top. I don't, there's nothing in there. There are no HTML elements in there other than a picture of myself, and every now and then I'll put a picture in there, which is really rare. But for the most part, it's just pure text. So it's all text, but it is an HTML email. So I don't know. We haven't really tested text only versus HTML, because everything we send out is an HTML email that's pure text. So I don't know. But I don't think, first of all, if you do a text-only email, you wouldn't be able to measure the click-through rate anyway, because you do have to have, as far as I understand, you have to have an HTML email in order for you to even see the click-through rates. So you would be able to see the open rates, but you wouldn't be able to see the click-through rates. And we're looking at the click-through rates. open rate is an indication of how interesting the subject line was, but click-through rate is really the main indicator of whether the email works or not. Really, the main indicator is revenue and sales, of course, but it's really the click-through rate that I'm after, because I want people to click through. They open the email, but ultimately I want people to click through. So really, it's the click-through that I'm looking at. It's how many people actually click on the link in the email.
Good nugget of information right there. Perfect.
Sorry, I can be more specific, Steve. There was a question, Karen, way up top. Vitaly is the copy king. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a question. Never mind.
No, they're just saying Vitaly's the copy king.
Copy king. Sorry.
Yeah.
Joe, I saw copy king. I didn't see. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, we know you're the copy king. Oh my! I mean, your emails are just fun to read and go through and just learn from all the time. So absolutely is a must. And so we are kind of getting towards the end here. We're almost at the top of the hour. And like I said, I know you've got, family, and I want to respect your time on this, around this.
Oh, they're all asleep. I got them.
Oh, okay. But I know you're coming to No Excuses. So now,
yes.
I got a countdown, about 16 days and counting is what I'm looking at.
Is that what it is, 16 days?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yeah, so if you're coming to No Excuses, and especially if you're going to be in the workshop, we're going to share some good stuff there on emails. Not just on emails, but my part will be on emails, and we'll be talking specifically about that autoresponder, exactly what to say in your email, in your first email, your second email, and how to make that connection, how to create that rapport, how to start developing trust right away, and and some other tips on how to make your email really crisp.
Yeah, Odie's got a great question real quick before we dive into that. It says, are there any tools to optimize inbox delivery?
Yes, and to be perfectly honest, I don't use any of them personally, but that would be a question for Matt Crystal in the community. We do have we do things, I know, behind the scenes to optimize, from a like cleaning the list, and there are things that you can do with email for email deliverability. That's not, I don't do any of that, so I don't know. I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Yeah, got it. I'm actually looking forward to meeting Kurt, because he just did in there. He quoted, I'll be there in my Michael Jackson singing voice. And all of a sudden I have Michael Jackson in my head going, I'll be there in my head. It's horrible. How dare you? When is the next No Excuses? Mark the month of June 2018 on your calendar. I don't know specific dates, but I can give you the time frame and possible month that we're looking at. But typically June is our No Excuses month as we move forward. And honestly, one of the things, this is okay. I was actually talking with somebody I was actually talking with one of our team members, and I said, what is Vitaly really good at? And the reply was, well, at No Excuses, he's really great with just interacting with all of our affiliates, right? Like he is somebody you want to walk up to and just have a conversation with. Because it's just really creative what he does. And this is another great question from Steve. Steve is doing some great questions here. All right, did you read this question? So the question is,
what are my favorite top 3 for copywriting books that I recommend?
Yeah, top 3 must-have copywriting books. Go.
There are a lot. I would say, depending on where you're at, so I'll start with the beginning. The one that I really, really like is by Joe Sugarman, and it's called The Advertising Secrets of the Written Word. That's the old one. Let me tell you, the new one, which is actually the same one, it's the one that, because the other one is, I think, very expensive because it's out of print, but the new one is virtually the same thing. I'll tell you what that is. It's called Copywriting Handbook. Hang on, I want to make sure that's the right one. Hang on a second. Because I have the original one, which is The Advertising Secrets of the Written Word, but this is the newer one. It's called the Adweek Copywriting Handbook. And it's really, really good. And even though this has nothing to do with the internet, there's really I don't think there's even a mention of the internet there, but he talks about how to create compelling copy, how to connect emotionally with people, how to write headlines, which translates into subject lines and blog post titles and video titles. So it's all the same thing, even though this wasn't written specifically for the internet. He's an old-time copywriter that just did all kinds of, sold billions and billions of dollars worth of stuff in the 70s and 80s. And he's still around, but he's retired. So this is a great book. This is definitely one that I recommend to everybody new or not new. There's another one called The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy. That's a good book. That's the one that I recommend. Also, let's see where it is. This one, I don't recommend this for brand new people, but I do recommend this if you're really, really serious. It's called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. This is a very dense book. It's if you're brand new, it may even be kind of hard to digest. Not because he writes in very simple language, but it's very conceptual. There's a lot of great stuff in here. So that's a good book. It's not cheap, by the way.
No.
It's not cheap. Yeah, you have to hunt for it. But that is a great book. Somebody put that advanced training. Oh, you're putting that? Okay. What else? Let's see.
Eric asks if Words That Sell by Richard Bryan was one that you would recommend.
Yeah, I have that on my desk, in fact. That's more of a reference guide. So I use that all the time because it's not a copywriting book. It's a guide for you to look up words so you're not redundant in your writing. Mm-hmm. So if you want to say the word powerful, instead of saying it 5 times, you can look at powerful. And so this gives you not a thesaurus, but a reference guide for all these different words. So yeah, absolutely. As you can see, I have it here. Here's a good one. It's also by Joe Sugarman. It's called Triggers. That's a great one. It talks in that book. It's 31 different emotional triggers, psychological triggers actually. So that's a great book. Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini. In fact, I did a Facebook Live on this Daily Dose of Awesome a couple weeks ago, where I talked about the 6 influence principles from that book. So that's a great book for all marketers. I would highly recommend. And another one I'll give you, which is called Cashvertising by a guy named Drew Whitman. Cashvertising. That's a great book. It's a very easy read, but it's just full of ideas on how to create emotional connections with people and how you can say things in a way that resonate with people. And he has all kinds of examples in there and how you can use words that basically light up the brain. So that's a great book.
Yeah, how did you spell? I can't remember how to spell. I know it's Cashvertising.
Cashvertising. Yeah, so Cashvertising. Yeah.
I think that's the correct spelling. Like advertising.
I can tell you every book I have.
Yeah.
I'll give you one more. This one I think is an absolute must. It's an old book, but I think it's like the foundation. Every copywriter out there has read that book. It's called Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins. You can read it probably in 2 hours. It's a book that was written over 100 years ago, but it's really the foundation of sales copy and using persuasion in what you call the print, but now it's online. But it's basically the same thing. It's called Scientific Advertising.
Got it. And Lynn, you're asking me to repeat those titles. If you see anything Elite Marketing Pro, that's me. And that's me just repeating the titles that Vitaly has recommended. So Triggers, Influence, Cashvertising, Scientific Advertising, Breakthrough Advertising. That's more the advanced training. The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy. And then
the Adweek Copywriting Handbook. Yep, and this one in Triggers is by a guy named Joe Sugarman. So if you just go to Amazon and type in Joe Sugarman, these 2 books will immediately pop up.
Sugar, S-A-G-A-R, man?
Sugarman, so S-U-G-A-R-M-A-N.
That's what I meant.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'll tell you, he primarily sold things from catalog, so like physical products from catalog. He was the guy behind the blue blockers sunglasses. And in this book, this book is maybe 15 or 18 bucks. It's worth $1,000. It's worth so much more than that because at the end of the book, he includes examples of his sales copy.
Ooh.
and he explains like why that particular, why he said what he said, how he used a story to sell sunglasses. So talk about wordsmithing.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is the master of it. If you want to learn how to write really descriptively, he's the guy to study. Also cashvertising, but he's got a lot of examples in this book. So.
Yeah, I've got cashvertising. That had tons of stuff in there. I think I've read about all of them except for 2 that you've recommended. I got some catching up to do. Dang it.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of other. I mean, there are many more books. There are so many books out there, and since like I mentioned that earlier, because I'm a student of copywriting, I buy all this stuff, and and I have books all over the place, and I read them and I reread them. So there are many books, but I wouldn't encourage people to get too caught up into this, because if you're just starting out, go and read 15 books on copywriting. That's really not gonna grow your business.
Yeah.
Now, Steve, yes, because Steve is at a much different place. And I know that's why Steve's asking. So if Steve's going to connect, and we can discuss that later for sure. I can tell you all the stuff that I have. But for most people, you're not where Steve is, so you need to learn. I think if you read a couple of these books, you'll be way ahead of those people, and you really need to focus on other areas as well, such as driving traffic and all that. But then later, I would encourage you to pick up on that and read more, because this copywriting and really all the things that we do with marketing. It's something that you never stop learning.
Right.
You never stop learning. Like, I know copywriters that have been doing this for 20 years, and they're still learning. They're still going to seminars. I went to a seminar back in February in Tampa, and it was by Matt Fury and Ted Nicholas. And Ted Nicholas is another old-timer copywriter that you could study. He's got some books out there and courses. And I saw people in there that have been in the seminar that have been in this business for 25 years. Very successful marketers and copywriters. And they're showing up to the event, they're buying books, and they're studying. So it never ends.
Yeah, it's an ongoing
you never stop learning.
Never.
That's the phrase I'm looking for. Never stop learning.
Yeah. Steve's like, I definitely hopped on to ask those advanced questions out of Vitaly. Of course you did, no doubt. The other thing is, like, I guess, Julie asked, I'm just starting out, what should I read? And I think you covered this in the beginning. Just, first just start writing those emails and introducing yourself and having those conversations. If we're looking at kind of some of the training you already have available in your back office as a VIP member, you've got the Ultimate Email Profit Machine, correct?
The Ultimate Email Profit Machine is one I absolutely recommend, because a lot of the questions that people ask us about email that I see in the groups, and I don't mind answering them. I answer, every day. If I don't see something, you just need to tag me because I don't see all the questions, but I always answer them. But a lot of these questions, they're answered in that training, because it's a 2-hour training that Andrew and I did, and we just kind of went through a bunch of emails, and I explained in those, in that webinar, why I said what I said and what was my thought process behind it, and how to structure emails. Yeah. So that's one I definitely recommend. The list building one, of course, that's you absolutely must go through the Ultimate List Building System 2.0, which Tim Irwin talks, basically takes you through everything that you need as far as building your list, how to create a lead magnet, how to put together a capture page, the headlines, all the thought process. It's great training that is an absolute must. So
there's an oldie but goodie back in there called the Copywriters Guild.
Mm-hmm.
Still viable today?
Absolutely. Okay. There are some things that maybe 10% of it or less that is not, because in there we do talk about Google AdWords and creating ads on Google, which none of that is really relevant anymore because everything's changed. But 90% of that course is 100%. 90% of it is still totally relevant.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yes, we have that. You have access to that. So both were. It's great. It's by Tim Irwin and by David Garfinkel, who's an incredible copywriter, an old-time copywriter. Well, he's not an old-time. He's been around for a long time, but he still writes copy to these days. So he's a very good course.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, is there any other last minute questions? Like I said, we're just over the top of the hour. For those that are looking at us, I just want to kind of plug this in here real quick. For those that are joining us for the first time here at Elite Marketing Pro, you like what you're hearing, you want to know more about the system, what we're up to, by all means, check us out. You can head over to elitemarketingpro.com/mojo to learn more about this Elite Marketing Pro system and getting access to some of this training that we can go through and you can help use to build your business. And thank you guys so much for joining us, and especially Vitaly for taking time. And I have to agree with Teresa that you're awesome, Vitaly. And
thank you.
Yeah, definitely the highlight of the week is getting you on here and getting this training and having you be here to answer a lot of these questions. So
awesome. Well, you're awesome too, Katrina. What you do, you're so consistent with. I mean, I only come here every once in a while, but you're here every single week on Monday Mojo, and you're doing Daily Dose of Awesome once or sometimes twice a week, and you're in the community all the time. So you're awesome as well. But yeah, I can come back anytime you want, guys.
We're gonna have Vitaly back for sure. I think we should make this where he's coming back as often as we can get him on here to answer a lot of your questions.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Steve.
Awesome.
Guys.
Yeah, and you guys also
you can always connect with me on Facebook. In the group, in one of the groups, in the VIP group, or in the main community. If you have any questions, want to look at anything.
Yeah, there you go. And if you guys are hanging around, you guys are going to be at No Excuses. I mean, definitely connect with myself, connect with Vitaly, connect with the team. I mean, this is that one event where we look forward to meeting our community and just being there, with you and, spending that time and answering questions and giving you that heads up or that step up in this world of marketing. And I promise you what I've seen, I think Vitaly, you can attest to this also, a lot of people, a good chunk of people, I think most of the leaders inside of our system and those that we've mentored over the times, it is going to that No Excuses event that has given them the stepping stone to really move their business forward. Would you agree, Vitaly?
Oh, absolutely. You can't replicate what you get out of the event, not just the information only, because that's obviously very important. That's primarily why people go there, but it's the environment. It's being there. It's an energetic shift when you go there. So, and you can't replicate that.
Sure.
You just can't. This is why I have to go to a couple events a year, even outside of No Excuses Summit. I have to go somewhere. My wife says, and she knows, but she still asks me, you know this stuff. I go, yeah, but I still need to go, because when you sit at home, even if you've been doing this for 20 years, still, it's just not the same. But when you go there, you get around other people, it moves you, right? And you grow. Just by being at an event, you grow, you come back with a different mindset, with a shift in your mindset. So, absolutely. I think going to events and making the commitment to go to events will make a huge difference in the business.
Awesome. All right. Vitaly, thank you so much again for hanging out with us. This has been absolutely amazing. Look at that. They're dropping links for VIPs to go to No Excuses, but that is a VIP only link. So if you're not in VIP, you can't access it. Just a heads up around that one. But thanks, guys, so much for joining us, Vitaly. Absolute pleasure picking your brain. You guys were awesome.
Thanks, Katrina. Thank you, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Anytime.
Yep. All right. With that, guys, have a great night, and we'll see you guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
See you inside the community. Bye.
Bye.